Here we go. All right. Welcome to my world. Oh, man. I'm going to do my best to sound a little peppy today. I'm a little down in the doldrums, but not terribly bad. It's a long morning, long afternoon, long evening. So this is the first session of what I call advanced real estate investing via subject 2. So I gave you guys some material that you can go over. And some of you guys might know some of that material already, the basics, but I still feel obligated to give you that so you can read and go over that. Maybe you don't know some of it, some of it you do. And also when we go through the documents, it will click a little bit better when I go through this prerequisite about the deed, the due on sale clause, the trust, the contract, things like that. So that way, when we go through the actual documents, then things will kind of click in. And remember, please interrupt me at any time. You're not being rude. Sometimes I'll be reading and I tend to just ramble on. Stop me. Hey, I got a question. And if I don't hear you, say it again, okay? Because I'll keep going, all right? Sometimes it may get a little boring on certain sessions because a lot of the documents that we're going to go through are legal documents. They have a lot of legalese. I tend to read through almost all of that, 90% of it. So it may get a little boring. I rush through that till I get to the important parts. But I think it's very important that you know these things to that degree. All right, with that, what I'm going to do, I'm waiting for one more person to pop in. I record these sessions, as you know, because we have people on different time zones. And of course, we have people who are students who are working right now. And some of them have domestics, so they may not be here or they may pop in at any time during the session. I allow that. And I also record these for the benefit of those who miss it, and you can always see it. In addition to that, after I record it, the next day, you will receive an email. And in your email will be the video recording, okay? It'll be a video recording for you to watch. And then on top of that, the website, which I should have popped up, I didn't pull it up, but I want to show you, there's a link you're gonna go to the website. Right now, if you go to that link, it says recent and past subject to sessions. If you go there now, it's gonna ask you for a password. So I will text you guys the password tomorrow, okay? That way, in addition to reviewing any session that we have gone through, it'll be in your email, but you know how emails are, right? They go to spam, we lose them, stuff like that. So you'll have each session in your email video for you to watch. And in addition, if you just can't find it or you don't have the time, you can go straight to the Subject to Real Estate Investing website, go to the link that says recent sessions, and click it. I'll give you a password and you'll be able to review any sessions that we have had in the past. So you have 2 different ways to go over anything. And they're going to be there for the life of the session. So session 1, session 2, session 3, as we go along, you'll see these sessions being available to you. So you can always go back to last week's, the trust, or whatever thing is that you need some brushing up on. Okay, so I do that for you. In addition to that, when I host a new series, which will be next month, you guys are free to jump in at any session at any time. There is no extra cost for that. Sometimes you want to brush up, right? Sometimes you miss it. Sometimes you want to participate in a live session or ask a question. You just want to hear what's going on. When I do these, I do it different every time. They're pretty much the same, but it's a little different. People ask questions that are different than the last one. So, that's what I encourage you to come to the live sessions. And of course, if you can't make the live session, then the recorded session will suffice. In addition, one thing you'll like about me, I'm very, very personal. So I'm the kind of guy, you can call me on the phone, you can text me, you can email me. You're always going to have contact. I'm not like these other guys that they'll teach you, they do this, but they're not touchable. You can't talk to them anymore. You're going to be able to talk to me and ask me any questions for any guidance, mentoring, anything you want. Okay. So that's how we are going to do that. So I'm just laying out those basic guidelines for you to understand. And what else? Yes, also on Facebook, the Creative Real Estate Investors Group, I encourage everyone, if you have any questions that you want to ask, to go there and ask there, because people are on there too. They might have the same question. That way I can answer it for all. I tell this to everybody, but let me tell you, not too many people go there and ask the questions. They still text me, they still call me, and that's okay. I just want people to do that. Just go online and text me anyway. With that said, welcome to the first session. All right. Any questions on what I've sent you so far to read? Okay.
No questions.
Okay, good. So every session, I'm going to send you some material. Okay, so every session, you're going to get different material based on where we're at and where we're going. So this session is going to be almost like the Q&A that we did before, but a little bit different. Okay, but I like to lay the foundation and the base of it, like I said, because I want you to thoroughly understand the theory and the premise of this. So when we go to the documents, it'll click in a little bit better. All right. So let me give you what I wanted to do. I wanted to give you a preview of some of the things. This computer's not working right. Well, I can still do that. You guys won't mind that. Let me share my screen first. Maybe everything will pop up. Boom. Oh, that's my computer there. Bear with me, guys. I know subject to, but this Zoom thing, I know computers too. I build computers, but this Zoom thing is like, I'm trying to get the hang of this. And select multiple windows. Okay. Trying to get the hang of it. Sometimes I make mistakes. I need a wireless mouse. That's what I really need. Oh, yeah. That's my little thing there. Let's see if we can share.
I can see your screen.
Okay, good. That's not what I want. That's not what I want you to see, but
Oh.
I had some other documents that I pulled up. It was like 7 or 8, and I don't see them on here. But what I probably will do is go through them one at a time. So we'll start with the strategy, which you guys probably already know, but for the benefit of those who don't and those who are going to be reviewing this, which is a good amount of people reviewing the video, they may have to get brush up. Some of you are, real estate investors already, or maybe you have took a couple of courses, read a lot of information. Some are beginners totally, so that's why I go through this way. Okay. So here we go. Some water. Usually have some music in the background. I don't know what happened. I'm unorthodox the way I teach. No fluff, no pizzazz. It's like school. I can get a little boring. And remember, any questions, interrupt me. All right. Now, this part here, you probably know. Okay. So I'll probably want to have to go through this. Let's see if anything I want to. No, don't want to do that. Let's get down to the meat of things. What is a subject to deal? Part 1, part 2. Okay, am I still sharing the screen? Yeah, good. All right, so what's a subject to deal? A subject to deal is where a homeowner gives you their property, but unlike a traditional sale, the property's not free of liens, because when we traditionally buy a property, of course, we have to pay it off with a mortgage that we get and whatnot, okay? So subject to means that, and of course, you probably already know this, but again, I have to repeat these for the benefit of those who don't and those who are viewing this. It means that the mortgage is going to come with the property, which is excellent. No credit, no FICO score, no lender requirements, all right? It's almost the same thing as old assumable loans. Now, prior to 1982, I think it was, a lot of loans were assumable. Matter of fact, when I first moved to Phoenix in 1991, I had a U-Haul truck. I drove straight from the East Coast, and I looked in the papers, and I was looking for a property to rent. I was told you can just find them in the newspaper, and I did. And the owner answered the phone. He told me to pull up to the house. I told him I had a U-Haul truck. I'm looking to rent. He said, great. I'm looking to move right away. Everything's already empty. Come by. And what it was is that the owner actually, I didn't know, I wasn't doing subject to then. This is 91. He signed the deed over to me. It was an assumable mortgage, FHA, no, VA, which I didn't know. So that's an example of people being able to sign mortgages over, not mortgages, but the deed over to you And I didn't have to worry about the due on sale clause because there was no due on sale clause in this mortgage at the time. That's an assumable loan. So old properties that have older loans that have not been refinanced, you'll find that it won't have the due on sale clause, and that's it. The reason why the lenders bought in the due on sale clause is because of the interest rate. And of course, we had a lot of people signing their properties over to someone and moving, and then that person would pay the mortgage and the lender wouldn't get the down payment. They wouldn't be able to check your credit. There was no fees at closing, this, that, and the other. That's the real reason why they instituted the due on sale clause. The lenders want the new people who took over to put some skin in the game, okay? So everyone understands that, right? Is everyone here pretty much understanding the basic premise of subject to?
Yes.
I believe so.
Okay, very good. And Michael, are you here with us as well? I think Mike's with us. He might be. I'm not sure. Okay, good deal. All right, so subject to are incredible ways to buy properties, and these types of transactions truly require none of your credit. So I just want to get through the first two of that because the next ones are going to be a little bit more about the meat of the thing. So when you buy or acquire, even though it says buy, and how I really buy properties, we use the word buy, but I'm not buying, but I'm buying by taking over the mortgage and they're signing the deed. That's the transfer. Okay, so we still use the term buying loosely. All right, so we put the property in a trust, and I'm going to teach you guys how to create your own trust, which is valuable in itself. Okay, not only am I going to teach you to create your own trust, you're going to know how to do a deed. Does anyone know how to fill out a deed?
No, I need to know that.
Right, so you're actually going to learn exactly how to fill out a deed. And the deed we're going to fill out, and I'm going to show you how to use, and you're going to make your own, is going to be a warranty deed to trustee. It's still going to be a deed. It's just called warranty deed to trustee. And all deeds are basically almost the same, different verbiage on it because they have different connotations for them, but basically they're going to be the same. So you're going to learn how to put your property in a trust, and you're also going to learn how to do a deed. Okay, and you're going to learn the benefits of using a trust. If you have your own property, and I do this for people, I show them how to do it. If you have your own property in the mortgage, I recommend you put that property in a trust, okay? So when I was first doing subject to, I ran across a couple of investors here that were going crazy with it. And they were going to people and they were having the homeowners sign their property over to them using a quit claim deed. And a quit claim deed is something that you definitely don't want to have transferred to you because it doesn't warranty, number one, that the person is who they are, okay? And number two, you don't have no recourse to go back into court and make that person, do what they're supposed to do. So we use warranty deeds. That's why it's called warranty. And we'll get a little bit into that, okay? So let's take over a moment and go over what is a land trust, which is very critical to subject to transactions, okay? Nothing more than a piece of paper. Okay, it's a legal entity that can own property for the benefit of someone else. So what it is that the trust that you're going to create with your former homeowner or your seller is going to own the property. The trust is going to own the property. Okay, so there's three parts to a trust. There's a grantor, okay, there's the trustee, and there's a beneficiary. The grantor is going to be your homeowner seller. You're going to use them to create the trust. And the reason why you have to use them is because they have the property on a deed right now, and that deed has to be put into the trust. For that deed to be put into the trust, okay, they have to sign and make a trust agreement, which we're going to go through. And I really wish this thing had that popped up ahead of it because I wanted to show you that, but that's okay. We'll get to the trust part when we get to that class, but I just wanted to give you a quick peek. So the homeowner is going to be the grantor. That means they're going to start the trust for you. Now, when I give you these documents, you're going to learn that you're never, ever, ever going to give your homeowner or even your tenant buyer, whoever you're dealing with, or your investor, blank paperwork. You're going to fill out the paperwork. One thing I teach you is how to fill out the paperwork. All they're going to do is sign, okay? So the homeowner is the grantor. They put their property into a trust, and then you're going to have a trustee. A trustee is the person who has quote unquote legal ownership of the property in the trust. Okay, but they're restricted in dealing with the property by terms of the trust document. So some people ask me, well, if I'm not going to be on the deed and I'm going to have a trustee on the deed, and that trustee, quote unquote, at the county recorder's office where it's recorded, they're going to be the legal owner of the property. Can't they just sell the property out underneath me or do something without my knowledge? They absolutely can. However, if you put it in a trust, a land trust, okay, they cannot do that. The land trust has certain verbiage in it that only allows your trustee to hold title for you. That's all they're doing. They're not doing any work. Your trustee holds title for you. That's all they are doing, okay? Now, in addition to your trustee holding title, they also are not going to be responsible should anything happen in terms of the property, because the trust dictates that legal by law. Trusts have been used in America for about 100 or so years. Started with the Illinois Land Trust, and trusts are legal in every single state. Don't let nobody tell you that trusts can't be done. They absolutely can. Some states, what they have done is they actually created certain trust laws to go along with the trust, and some of them are just basic trust law. Trusts are used all the time by the wealthy, okay? They're used by the wealthy to hold property and also to avoid what we call probate. You know, when someone passes away, then there's different parties of the family that's claiming this, claiming that, this, that, and the other, and it goes to probate, then you got to go to court. If you put your property in a trust and then you have beneficiaries, that avoids probate. That's why the wealthy and the knowledgeable people do that, okay? So you're going to have a trustee. And of course, the word trustee has the word trust in it. It's always indicated it should be someone that you kind of trust. Now, your trustee can be anybody you choose. It could be a member of your family. It could be a friend. It could be a partner in your business. But it's always the best to have your trustee on your land trust with a different name than your name, okay? Because what you're trying to do and what you're going to do is that you're not going to let the public know that you own properties. That's one of the benefits of the trust, okay? Because remember, if you're a real estate investor, and you'll learn this, and a lot of people don't, you know, when they become investors, they tell everybody, I got all these properties, I'm doing this, that, and the other. You have a lot of envy, you have a lot of jealousy, and you have people that look to acquire money and property by doing frivolous lawsuits and even legal ones. Now, the thing is, if someone sues you, right, even if they lose, you still have to defend yourself, and it's going to cost you money to get an attorney to defend yourself. So I say, and we say, why go through that? Okay. Bottom line is mask your properties. In other words, don't let the public know what you own. I'm telling you, I've had it happen to me. I've had people thought that they could sue me, and other investors will tell you that acquire a lot of properties, that they can be sued because they know that they were investors and they got a lot of properties. Different than wholesaling. And wholesaling, you're just taking some paper and you're selling to the other person. You don't own the property. But in a land trust, okay, your land trust owns the property and you're going to be the beneficiary of that trust. The bottom line is you have a piece of property that's an asset, and people know that. If an attorney wants to sue you and someone hires an attorney, the first thing the attorney is going to do is look up you in the public records, the county recorder's office, you know, the Secretary of State, to see if you own property. If they cannot find any assets, the attorney is going to tell their client, we can't do anything here because the attorney will not get paid. Okay. So the bottom line is you want to put your property in a trust. And we're going to get more deep into that when we talk about the trust, when we get to the trust sessions. Okay. So you can use
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we put a LLC, like our LLC, as the trustee,
Well,
or does it have to be an individual?
Well, here's what's recommended. You can put your LLC as the trustee. Here's the thing. When you, because I do LLCs for people in corporations, when you do that in every county, you have the corporate commission, like the Corporate Commission of Arizona, Corporate Commission of Los Angeles, California, whatever state you're in. When you create an LLC, that's public record. So when you create an LLC right now, if you have an LLC right now in your state, all I have to do is look up the name of your LLC and it's going to be public record. It has to be. Okay.
Right.
It's going to be public record. It's going to show that you are the owner of that LLC. That LLC is attached to you. So some investors make a mistake and they put their LLC as the trustee. And you don't want to do that because that negates the whole thing. Because when you put your LLC as the trustee, right, the trustee is on that deed, and you take that deed, you record it at the county recorder's office, it's public record that your LLC owns the property. Therefore, you're open for someone to go ahead and sue
Gotcha.
you or get your property or know what you own, okay? So
Okay.
some investors who are not experienced, that's what they do, and that's a no-no, okay? What you want to do, if you want your LLC involved in your trust, you can do that, but you make your LLC the beneficiary of the trust, okay? So to answer your question, yes, you can, but it's not advisable because that negates the whole idea of making your properties private.
Right. Okay.
So it should be a person. And it should be a person that typically is not easily traced to you. You definitely don't want to use the same last name, okay? Because they're going to assume, well, that's family, this, that, and the other, and boom, they'll find the chain right there. So you want to use someone who has a different last name than you. Again, you can use partners, okay? You can use friends. You can use family. You can use people who you just know. You can hire someone just to be your trustee. You know, I know a guy who does subject to a lot. And when he teaches his students, they have the same questions and he offers to be the trustee for a fee. He'll do that. But your trustee should be a person, okay? But remember, that person has limited power of what they can do in that trust. Now, when you buy a property in a regular transaction, you get a mortgage, you pay off the existing mortgage, and the former homeowner transferred that deed to you, and it becomes public record. You're on that deed. Like if anybody owns a property right now, right, you're on the deed, right? You can do what you want. It's not in a trust, right? You can do whatever you want. You can sell that property because you legally own that. In a trust, they cannot do that. They hold title and they're letting the public know I'm the legal ownership of this property, but according to the terms and conditions and the language of the trust, that trustee cannot do anything without the written and specific permission of the beneficiary. So that leads me to the next step. You are going to be the beneficiary of the trust. And the beneficiary, obviously, it tells you what's going on because benefits, that's the word in beneficiary. So the beneficiary of the trust gets everything. They get all proceeds, tax benefits, income benefits, all kind of things. And they run the trust behind the scenes, okay? And I'm going to show you how to do that, okay, without people knowing that you're the beneficiary. So you can make your LLC the beneficiary if you want, because that's not going to be public record, okay? The only thing that's going to be public record is that warranty deed with the trustee's name on it. So you're not going to record the trust, number one. All states do not require the trust to be recorded. So you're not going to record the trust and you're not going to record the beneficiary interest document. The only thing you're going to record is the trust deed. That's it. Warranty deed to trustee. Okay. So trust is a,
And you, Mr.
Mhm.
Browning, you'll show us how to do that, how to file
Yeah.
that?
Mhm.
Like, okay, because you're saying that we're not filing the beneficiary and we're not filing the trustee, but we're filing the warranty deed.
Right. So
Right?
you're not
Okay.
following this. There's three documents, and that's a good question that you have. And who am I speaking to?
That's Carmen,
Carmen, right.
Denise or Carmen.
Denise.
I'm mixed
Yeah.
up all over the place. So
Which one do you prefer?
call me what you want. It's fine.
Okay.
Hey, Corbin. Hey.
Hi, Kalia. I'm here.
Okay, so we'll call you Carmen then.
Okay.
So there's three main things to the trust. The trust document, okay, which is going to have the seller's name on it, all right? And then it's going to have the name of your trustee in it, who the trustee is, and it's going to have the name of your property. All right. And I'll show you how to name that property too. I don't want to get too much into it, but I just want to go over the basics. So when we get to
Okay,
I think it's part 4, we're going to get into the actual trust, but I don't mind getting to again and doing it 2 or 3 times
Okay.
because what we find out when it comes to subject 2, the most important thing is the trust. And a lot of people don't get it right. So I don't mind repeating. So that's okay. If you ask over and over again, please do that because I want you to get to know it 100%. So you're not going to record the trust agreement. You're not going to record the assignment of beneficial interest. That makes you the beneficiary. You're not going to do that. You're going to record the deed, and the deed is going to be called a warranty deed to trustee. And that's going to have the name of your trustee on it. That's the only thing that you're going to record it. And I'm going to show you how to do that. But I'm
okay.
just going through the theory of it right now. Okay. And feel free to ask questions over and over again about the trust. I want you guys to get it. I've taught people how to do it and they still made mistakes. And I tell them, look, on your first deal or 2, call me so we can get the paperwork proper so you won't have to make any mistakes. Okay. So don't worry about that. All right. So why use the land trust at all? The biggest advantage is privacy. Okay. If you were a money grubbing attorney, and I went to this a few minutes ago, who you want to sue? A person who owns a lot of real estate or a person who appears to own none at all, right? That makes sense. Person who has a lot of assets, right? So what if it was possible you'd own as much real estate you want without being obvious that you own real estate? And that's what the benefit, one of the benefits of the trust is. Trust has multiple benefits, okay? Now, this is not a regular trust. This is a land trust. There's different kinds of trusts. The land trust belongs to a type of trust called an inter vivos living trust. That's what a land trust is. But the land trust has distinct different verbiage, and some of the verbiage is the same as a regular trust. A regular trust, you can put cars in it, you can put jewelry in it, you can put your bank account in it, you can put those kind of things. And a lot of people use that to avoid probate, like we talked about. But a land trust specifically is used to hold real estate. Now you can put real estate in a regular trust too, but you're doing that for a different reason. We're doing this for privacy, okay? So that's exactly what a land trust provides. You place legal title to your properties into a land trust, which means that your name is no longer on the deed if it was on the deed before. The homeowner's name is no longer on the deed, and the general public won't know that you're the owner. Now, the beauty about this, when you deal with these motivated sellers, remember, these sellers are going to be in financial difficulty, financial distress. So I find a lot of them have maybe pending lawsuits. If they own the mortgage, they might own their car note. They might own credit cards. They might own bank accounts. They might own a lot of things. And people might want to sue them and attach liens to get paid, knowing that this person hasn't paid. So once I know, and I teach you this, that you have a deal, okay? As soon as you can put the property in the trust, after you do your due diligence, you want to do that as soon as possible when you're taking it from a homeowner who potentially has a lot of baggage coming with it. The reason why, when you transfer that property from the original homeowner's deed into a warranty deed to trustee, no liens can be placed on the property. No liens can be placed on it because, first of all, let me give you an example. You have John Doe, who owns 123 West Main Street. He is the seller, right? You're talking to him and he's financially distressed. He says, oh my God, I owe credit cards. I owe this, I owe that, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. So if someone's going to place a lien or sue them, they have to sue him by his name, right? And a good attorney is going to find his name, and then they're going to look for what assets is attached to that name. So when you take the homeowner and you transfer their deed over into a trust, which is going to have the name of your trustee on it now as the warrant, as the deed holder, then they cannot attach it to that property. Even if they know the address, they cannot attach it to that property because it's got to be attached to the person who's getting sued. And the person who's getting sued is no longer on the deed. Make sense? So that's a benefit. That's what you definitely want to do. Some people make a mistake. They wait a long time. I'm like, no, once you know you got a deed, you go ahead and get that deed done. You recorded this, that, and the other. Or if you wait too long, then you'll find out that the homeowner might have got sued, or a lien from the mechanic's lien, a pool lien, electrician, anything will attach to that property. And then that property not only has a mortgage encumbered by it, but also has these liens encumbered by it. Okay. Now, with that said, I'm going to teach you something else later on in this game of how you can pretty much get rid of liens or reduce liens to negligible amounts. So that's a little trick that the benefit you'll get here as well. Okay, a lot of investors are afraid to take properties that have a lot of liens on it. Now, with that said, I'm going to backtrack. You may encounter a homeowner who already has liens, right? They got a mortgage on the property. They have a mechanics lien. Maybe they built a pool and they paid partly for it and they have a loan against it. And the pool person says, okay, for the balance, I'm going to attach a lien to your house. So a lot of times you may get properties with liens on it. Don't run from that. Don't be afraid. Okay. I'm going to show you why when we get to the trust agreement. Don't be afraid of that if it already comes with it. However, it's best to get properties that don't have liens on them already, put it in a trust, and they'll stop any lien from attaching to it. Same thing with your personal property. You may get sued, okay? Put your personal property in a trust, so that way, if something happens, the bank can attach anything. Now, here in Arizona, the governor just passed a law in May. Any creditor now, even if it's a credit card company, can attach a lien to your property if you own it. Anything, anybody, any creditor can attach a lien to your property. That means they get a chunk of your equity. So now people here intelligently are rushing, those who know, to put their home in a trust. They're not investors, but they put their home in a trust. That way it protects their equity and no one can attach that to it. That's one of the benefits of that. So you're going to learn this. This is good knowledge. And not only are you going to learn the value of that, but you're going to learn how to do it. Now, disclaimer here, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a lawyer. All right. So I'm not practicing law. That's a gray area. But what I'm doing is I'm sharing with you how I do it. You get it? And that's
Yes.
what you're going to learn. All right. So that's what a trust provides. It provides privacy. The public won't know it's your owner, and you'll be the beneficiary of the trust that owns the real estate. The trust owns the real estate, but you get all the rights and benefits of ownership because you're the beneficiary. Okay. Pretty cool, right? So goes on to say these money grubbing attorneys will have less motivation to sue you because they're going to look, you can have 15 properties. Like I had 46 the last go around. I got rid of them. Some I wish I hadn't got rid of them, but I smart, you know, me and a partner was talking about that today. Like, oh my God, had we had hindsight, we would have kept a lot of them. And I'm telling you, this go around, I'm keeping almost 75% of my properties. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yes, you want to do that because I'm telling you, even if property values drop, they may go back up. And even if they don't go back up, you have an asset that you can use.
Or cash out
Okay.
that equity, right?
Even without equity,
Oh.
it's an asset.
Okay.
It's a piece of property and it might be income producing. What if you have a tenant in there? That's what the bank is going to look like. You ever go for a loan right now? The first thing they ask you got any assets? Yeah, I can show them a property that's upside down. All right, I owe more on the property, you know, the mortgage than what the property is worth, and I can still use it as an asset. Okay, because they can still take it. All right, so it's very valuable. In Arizona, I got a gentleman who deeded not only his house but 10 acres of land to me. So you don't know, you're not just gonna get a house.
Wow.
You're gonna get 10 acres of land. I'm not gonna tell you what's that because this is public and we're recording this. And I told you the benefit of not letting people know, but 10 acres of land. I had friends go up, they couldn't believe it.
Wow.
And let me tell you people, I am not lying. If the reason why
I believe you.
I'm not inclined to show you, because I can show you the document, the deed, but of course that's going to be public. I don't know
Yeah.
what's going to happen. You might be my enemy next month. I don't know next year.
No.
But
No,
I'll
I
show you.
need your help. I'm not gonna be you,
Right.
but I understand the protection.
Right.
You have to
for
protect
sure.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
And
understand that.
the benefit is that I did not have to pay this gentleman any money, not one
Wow.
dime. And the gentleman actually gave me a check.
Mm, mm,
And
mm.
I'm going to show you how you get money. You can from your homeowner to take the property too. He gave me a check. And when I went to see the property the first time, he had a, what do they call those trailers when you travel across the country? An RV.
Oh,
He
okay.
was ready to travel across the country. He was about 60 years old. He's ready to go. He said, Eric, I'm done, this, that, and the other. I went to your website. He said, man, that's fantastic. He says, he wasn't upside down, right? Which means that he didn't owe more than what the property was worth, but he only had about maybe $10,000 worth of equity in there, right? When he tried to sell, and when he did try to sell, when he tried to sell and he was going to closing, he had to come out of pocket because by the time he paid the closing costs, the recording fees, and the real estate commission, he had to pay about maybe he told me about $30,000. That means he had to come out with an extra
Wow.
20,000. So see,
Jesus,
that's
man.
what people realize. He said, wow, I'm not gonna pay 20,000 to get rid of my property. He said, I saw what you do, I'll give it to you. Thank you so much. Because my premise, I'm gonna take over the mortgage, pay it this, and he loved that. And I couldn't believe it. So when I walked up here, right? He said, all this is yours. I said, oh, this is great. It's a lot of land. I said, wow, how much land is it? He said 10 acres. I didn't know at the time it was 10 acres until I got here. And I couldn't believe it. 10 acres of property, land, trees. It was just beautiful. He had a well and he had this truck that would
Nice.
come drop water in there. He had electricity, nice little house. So you may look up and get these kind of deals. You may get land. And remember, people can deed land over to you too, just like houses, the same exact way. Same exact way. So you'll get land, all right? So that's a benefit of it. Now, the other benefit of the trust is the due on sale clause, the dreaded thing that people talk about. Wholesalers don't have to worry about due on sale clause. Why? Because they don't own the property. They're just flipping it to someone else, and that's someone else's problem, right? So the benefit of a land trust extends to another big issue for subject to deals, the due on sale clause, and you'll discover why the land trust can help with the dreaded due on sale clause. So let's go to the due on sale clause. All right. Due on sale clause and how to avoid problems by using a land trust. Okay, like I said, land trust is a critical part of this, and to use it correctly, you'll never even take properties that you're going to own without a trust anymore, even your personal property. And let me tell you, again, I know I'm repeating myself. If you own a property, put it in a trust. If you don't own a property and you're thinking about buying a house the traditional way, right? Getting a mortgage, right? When you buy it in a trust already. Create a trust and purchase the property and have them deed it to the trust. You'll be the beneficiary. You still own it, but it will be private.
So you would have the escrow do that for you. Tell them, but I would make up my trust myself and tell them I want to deed it into. Do I tell escrow that?
Yeah. So what I would do, and you're absolutely right. This is clear, right?
No, Carmen.
Carmen. So you're absolutely right. That's what I would do since I know how to do trust. But for all intents and purposes, some title companies know how to do that. Of course, they're going to charge you to create a trust. And if they have an attorney on board, they're going to charge you this, that, and the other. But I'm showing you how you're going to avoid a lot of money being spent for someone creating a trust for you when you can do it yourself. Now, even if you don't do it yourself, okay, because it's still recommended to have the title company do it and a closing attorney do it. At least you're going to know they're doing it properly. So you're going to have them deed the property into a trust for you. That's what you straight into the trust. So instead of you signing on your name, you're going to have the name of the trust on that contract. You got it?
Wow.
And then you're going to have a trustee on there, and then you're going to be the beneficiary. And I know people who do it now. There's people who have come to me. I'm not supposed to tell you, but they come to me, they know what I do, and they pay me. They're not supposed to pay me because I'm not an attorney. And I hope, see, I make these are private. When you go on YouTube, you can search all you want, but you're not going to see this. You'll see it on YouTube if I give you the ability to watch it, but it's not going to be public, so you can't find it. But a lot of people come to me because they don't know how to do it. And I charge them $500 a pop. Put your property in the trust, boom, this, that, and the other, because they know they have pending lawsuits and things coming. So you'll know how to do this. And I'm not telling you to go and do it for other people, because technically you'll be practicing law, okay? But you can show someone, quote unquote, right, how to do this, all right?
Okay.
And charge
So
them for your expertise. Yes, ma'am.
for the beneficiary, if let's say I have 3 properties, I put them in my mom's name, okay? And she's my trustee, but I decide I want to sell them or whatever, wholesale them, whatever. Do I have to have her signature too? Or can I just sell it on Tuesday and just let her know, hey, you're no longer the trustee?
Very good question. So since she's on deed at the county recorder's office, every title company and every closing attorney is going to make sure that the deed is going to be signed over to the new owner from the person who's on the deed. And your mother, if you're going to make her the trustee, theoretically, is going to be on the deed. So theoretically, she's going to sign for you. Okay, she's gonna sign that over when you sell the property. Okay, and two things you can do. When I had my first deal, I was real excited, and I had a trustee, and I went there, and it was a whole bunch of stuff involved. They did not want this to happen. Okay, it was in a town where they were kind of quote unquote prejudiced, and we were African Americans, my little team, and we went there, and they were trying to do everything to make this sale not happen. So my trustee was selling it for me to someone. We got the property, and 2 weeks later, we sold it like a regular property, made a good amount of money. And my trustee signed, the deed over, and we're about to go to closing. And I knew when closing was, and I was there, and I pulled up my beneficiary document with me as the beneficiary, and I stopped the title company. I said, even though my trustee is signing, because technically when your trustee signs, that check for the proceeds goes to your trustee, right? So you can continue and have your trustee get the check, especially if you know the person, and then they give you the proceeds, right? But I, knowing the rules of the trust, I can pop my beneficial interest at the last minute. And I told the title company, I want the funds wired to me, because what they said that they were going to give my trustee a check, and the check needed 10 days or so to clear, which was a lot of BS. They were trying to salt the deal, and I knew that. So I popped in and said, here's my beneficiary. And so they called their legal department, right? And, I said, let me get the fax number to them, and this, that, and the other. And I faxed it over to them. I waited 10 minutes, and they called back and said, yep, he's the beneficiary of the trust. If he wants the funds wired to his account, you have to do that. So two things you can do. You can have your trustee sign for you to sell the property, and they give you the proceeds, right? If you trust them to do that. Okay. And you can still do that. All right. Or you can pop your beneficial interest at the last minute and say, please send it to this account. And they have to follow the rules, because that's what the trust agreement says. And we'll go through that when we go to the trust agreement. You'll see the benefits of the beneficiary, the power of the beneficiary, the powers of the trustee. You'll see all that kind of stuff. So yes, you can have your mom. She would have to, whoever is the trustee, they're on the deed. They have to sign legally. That's how it has to go. Okay. But they cannot do anything. They cannot sell that property without your permission. Okay. So if it goes to a typical close, right, a title company is going to see that it says warranty deed to trustee. So they're going to know, oh, this is a trust. The property's in a trust. So legally, they have to see the trust agreement now, and they have to see who the beneficiary is. They're going to stop. So let's say your trustee goes AWOL, right? Or goes rogue, right? And say, Kalia or Carmen or Michael, they're making a lot of money, and I'm just a trustee and not getting nothing. I'm going to go ahead and sell this property off from underneath them, right? Because they're on the deed, right? And they contact an investor or someone, a homeowner, someone who wants, a new person who wants to buy a property, and they go to closing. A title company, they have to do a title search, right? Once they do the title search, you're going to see warranty deed to trustee. That's going to trigger them. Oh, this is not a regular deed. This property is in a trust. And legally, they know, let me see who the beneficiary is, because the trust is going to say that the trustee cannot do anything, even sell the property, without the permission of the beneficiary. Now, they can sell, they can rent, they can do anything, but it has to be with your permission. So that's what stops them from going rogue. Okay.
But if for any reason they refuse to sign, then doesn't that make the beneficiary's hands tied?
No, ma'am. So one of the beauty about being the beneficiary, very good question, is then when we go through the trust agreement, you can see the beneficiary can fire the trustee at any time. See, the beneficiary runs the trust.
Okay. That's what I needed. Okay.
Yeah, the beneficiary.
I mean, I wouldn't have that kind of problem with my mom if I chose her, but I'm just saying if I chose, somebody else, and
I had my mom as my trustee.
Okay.
On one or two properties and whatnot. But you can fire your trustee at any time.
Okay.
You can do that at any time. You can even set it up that you have a trustee, and then you have what they call another trustee who's going to come take their place already and have that document ready. And legally and publicly, you can record with your trustee here and fire the trustee and have the other document already ready to go. Boom, pop it in there whenever you want, or just leave the trustee that you have there on public record just for public sake. So there's a lot of things you can do. Okay. But that's a real good question. So the beneficiary has a lot of power in the trust. You run the stuff. You run the ship. Okay. You run the ship. Okay. So the person, due on sale clause. So yeah, we gotta get back into that. Sorry about that. Okay, so the due on sale clause is in virtually all. I hope I answered your question, right?
You did. You did.
And that's
I'm
a
good.
very good question. Always interrupt me and ask, but when you ask, I can give it information. If you don't ask, I can't tell you. It won't come out of me, and I may not think of it while I'm going through these sessions. But if you think of it, ask me. That's what this is for. Okay.
Okay.
So that's a very, very good question. Okay, so the due on sale clause is a line in virtually all mortgages that prohibits a borrower from transferring the borrower's responsibility to pay the loan to a different person. And remember, I tell you back in the day, that used to happen all the time, and the banks were not getting nothing. They couldn't raise the interest rate. They couldn't ask for a down payment. They couldn't check the person's credit, this, that, and the other. So that was the real basis of the due on sale clause, because they were not in the game and they realized these properties were being transferred hook, line, and sinker, and they wanted the person who got the property, who got the deed now, to have some skin in the game. Okay. All right. So the due on sale clause, that's in every mortgage. And when we get to probably just before we get to the next class, I'll pull up a mortgage document with a due on sale clause so you can see it, the exact clause, what it says. Okay. So the person who signed the loan papers must not transfer ownership of the property to anyone else. If they do, the lender has the right to foreclose, which means they call the loan due. All right. However, it seems like the due on sale clause makes it impossible for us to buy property subject to the mortgage, right? The lender finds out the transaction, they could actually foreclose and take the property from us, right? Technically, right? But what is possible? What is practical? When it comes to the due on sale clause, there's a big difference to that which is possible for a lender to do, and that's what is practical. Now, what people don't understand, the due on sale clause is legal. It's legal and it's there. However, the due on sale clause is not a trigger for the lender to call the loan due. It's written there as an option. It's an option. I've taken over properties, put it in a trust, got the deed, and the lender, about 5 times of all the properties I got, found out that I had the property. 2 of them tried to call the loan due. The other 3, let me tell you what the other 3 did. They called me up, hey, we see Mr. Brown, you got this property, this, that, and the other, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. I said, yep, this, that, and the other. So you're making the payments, I see. I said, yeah. I said, John Doe, he was in pre-foreclosure. He was going to lose the property. So he signed it over to me and I'm making the payments. And they said, you certainly are, Mr. Brown. Thank you so much. They were happy. They were happy because remember, there's an investor who was getting the proceeds for that property and the bank was just servicing the loan. You see what I'm saying? The investor was happy that the mortgage was being paid. Banks are there to collect the money. They're not there to buy real estate. They don't acquire real estate. Sometimes they do it and they don't want to. But they just want to make sure that that loan is performing on their books, and they look better when they have performing loans. So when they do find out, if they do find out that you have the property, it does not automatically trigger the due on sale. I can tell you how many lenders found out and looked the other way. They didn't care. They didn't care. Now, the 2 that did care called me. Boom, you got this property, blah, 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 this, that, and the other, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. At that time, the interest rate was low on these properties. And the interest rate at that time that was going was higher. So they wanted me to get a loan, right? Pay off that mortgage and pay a higher interest rate and put a down payment. So what I did, I just asked, well, can I have the fax number to your legal department? I said, yes. Sent it over, wait a few minutes, an hour or 2, maybe even a day or 2. They call me back and they say, oh, we're so sorry. We see you have the property in trust. Carry on, Mr. Brown. Both times, because a person has a right to take their property and put it in a trust. Okay. All right. Now you have to do it. You have to do it right. If you don't do it right, there could be something that could happen. So when it comes to the due on sale clause, there's a big difference to that, which is what is possible for lenders to do, what's practical. The lender wants performing loans. And remember, they have to answer to an investor who buys portfolios of these properties. And the investor, they just want to make sure that they're getting paid. Now, what if you're making mortgage payments, right? What if you're making mortgage payments and the former homeowner wasn't making mortgage payments? All of a sudden, this loan that was non-performing becomes a performing loan because you're making the payments, right? If a lender pulls the loan and calls it due, right? By the way, when they do that, it's not going to be instant. That's another thing. They call the loan due. It's not going to happen in 10 days, 30 days. They have to do a regular foreclosure. They have to do a notice of foreclosure. Okay. Then it's going to take time for them to get a date. Then you have a sale date. That's 3. It's going to take about 4 months for that to happen, if that happens. So you got plenty of time to make up should that happen. Okay. Now, if they call the loan due and put it in foreclosure, right? They're going to have to go back to the investor, right? And tell the investor, well, this property's in foreclosure. You're going to say, well, what happened? They're not paying? No, they were paying, but they transferred the deed. You know what the investor's going to say? Wait a minute. This is a performing loan. I was getting money every month. Now you're going to call the loan due and it's going to go into foreclosure and I'm not going to get paid. You see what I'm saying? They have to explain to the investor that. So what is practical for the lender to do? The lender wants performing loans on their portfolio, on their books, aside from having to explain to the investor, but also as a lender, they have to have as much performing loans as possible. It's better for them. They get penalized when they have a lot of foreclosures. They don't tell you this, but they do. Okay. So let's clear about one thing. Subject to transactions, they do run counter to the due on sale clause. But if you buy a property subject to existing mortgage, it's quite likely the lender does have the option to foreclose or repossess, but it's not practical. And I proved it. And many investors, if you Google this subject to online, you'll see almost every investor will tell you, nope, they haven't never had the lender call the loan due. Some of them have the lender try it. Okay, now if you just get somebody to sign the deed over to you, you're done. It's not in the trust. Okay, they can call that loan due and you got to get, go ahead and get, a loan to pay that off, this, that, and the other. Now, with that said, the lender still may look the other way because it's a performing loan now. But to protect yourself, you put it in the trust to negate the due on sale clause and also what we talked about earlier for privacy. All right. So it's not very practical for them to do that. What business is the lender? They're in the cash flow business. What they're most concerned about is receiving the monthly payments. They're not in the real estate business. They're not. Now, they might have REOs, real estate owned. They take that because they had no choice. The guy foreclosed, so they got to take it, but they're quickly going to sell it so they can make some money and get their money back. All right. They don't want to own homes. Okay. And it reflects poorly on banks and lenders whenever they foreclose. So in general, lenders like to avoid foreclosure if possible. Believe it, they do. They don't want to foreclose. It's a non-performing loan. They're not getting paid. The investors are not getting paid. Okay. But that's not all. You really protect yourself by merely setting up a subject to transaction in a way that the lender will never even know the transaction happened. Enter the land trust. And most lenders don't know. And they don't care. I can tell you a good amount of lenders know I got the property and other people like me get them, but they didn't take like, look, it's performing. You're paying it. That's it. That's all they want. Enter the land trust. So there's actually a federal law that addresses the due on sale clause. Okay. They lobbied this in 1981 or 1980 to get this happening. Lenders did it. They have a big lobby. And it's called the Garn-St. Germain Depository Institution Act. And what that act does is to limit the authority of lenders to enforce the due on sale clause. So it allows them to call the loan due, but it also limits certain situations when they cannot do it. So the Garn Act says that there are several situations which a lender cannot enforce the due on sale clause, such as when a borrower dies and the property is transferred to their estate, they can't call it due. When a borrower transfers interest in the property to his or her spouse. So let's say you have a husband and wife, they own a property together, divorce happens, right? A judge says, I'm going to award the property to you, Miss Brown, or you, Mr. Brown, whatever. That means it's transferred over to that person. All right. The lender can't call it due. All right. Okay. Or if they get a second mortgage. All right. And other exclusions. Okay. But the most important thing is lenders cannot execute the due on sale clause if the borrower places the property into a land trust, which is a simplified version of the law. Okay. So how to match subject to deals with the land trust. Here's how you and I can do it. Okay. You find a homeowner willing to sell you the property subject to, and we'll get into that when we talk about marketing and motivated sellers, when we get to that section there, into that session. And you set up a land trust for the benefit of the seller. And a lot of sellers don't know this. They don't know nothing about the land trust. But when I explain this is how this happens, I say, look, you want me to stop this foreclosure, right? I want to do that. You may have some other liens coming against you. And then if I have these other liens attached to your property, it's not going to benefit me and I can't do my job. So we need to put it in the trust, and that will stop any other liens coming. And I can do what I say I'm going to do for you. I can make the mortgage payments. I can stop your foreclosure, and the lender won't be able to call the loan due, and we can continue on. And they love it when I explain to them like that, because most sellers don't know. They don't know about the land trust. But when they see the benefit of that, they're like, oh, wow, I understand. So we place the property into a land trust, and then you have their seller sign their ownership over to you. Because when you create the trust, right, with the seller, as soon as you create the trust, he's going to become the beneficiary immediately. As soon as the seller puts his name on there and signs and everything, he's the beneficiary because he created the trust. However, the third document is called the assignment of beneficial interest. They're going to sign that over to you. Now, these documents are going to be signed at the same time. So I know some investors, they make a land trust, right? And then they do the trust, and then they have the deed with their trustee. And then they have then they don't do the beneficial interest right away. They wait a week or 2 or 3. If you do that, your seller could change his mind. Your seller can fire the trustee. Your seller could sell the property. You don't want that to happen. So I teach you, you do these 3 documents all together at the same time: the trust agreement, the warranty deed to trustee, and the assignment of beneficial interest. And when we get to the trust session, you'll learn all that. I'm just telling you the theory of it right here. So you're done. You own a land trust.
Question.
Mhm,
While I'm thinking about it, because I probably forget later, I'm sorry.
mhm.
So for the original owner, if they are going to be foreclosed on, can they put their property in a land trust and stop their own foreclosure?
Well, technically they can, but they would have to find a way to make up those payments, because putting in the property in a trust doesn't stop the foreclosure when payments are due. Okay.
Okay.
So what we do, we put it in a trust for privacy. We put it in a trust also to stop any liens from coming. And then we have to go ahead and deal with the lender about those past due payments. What if the person is like 5 or 6 months past due? If I put it in the trust or not, they can still foreclose. So the bottom line is,
Gotcha.
when you as an investor get a property and put it in a trust, if you don't make those payments, it's going to foreclose still.
Okay.
So the bottom line is, you have to make the payments, to answer your question. So the trust doesn't stop foreclosure. What it stops is the lender from calling the loan due. Okay.
Okay.
That type of
Gotcha.
foreclosure. But if you're making payments, pretty much not going to happen. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you own a land trust, which in turn owns the property that you wanted purchased subject to. Okay. So let's be clear about something. The transaction, as I said again, does violate the due on sale clause. Now remember, just because it violates the due on sale clause, there's no legal ramification like a felony or a misdemeanor or anything. Like if you own a property and you foreclose, are they going to take you and put a felony against you? Are they going to charge you a misdemeanor? No, it's not an illegal thing to do. You just breach the contract. Just like when you have a car and you don't make your car payments, they repossess it, right? You breach the contract, right? So the same thing here. It's just a breach of the contract. But what we try to do is that we try to mitigate and circumvent that breach of the contract by putting it in a trust. So as a practical matter, the lender probably doesn't care and will never find out anyway, because the first part of the transaction, creating a land trust and placing title to the property in trust, is protected by federal law, the GARN Act. That's why we do it. Okay. There's nothing the lender can do about this, even if they wanted to. And I've tested it because I was a little nervous when I first started doing this. And then when the lenders called me, I'm like, oh my God, they found I got the deal, and I boo-boo, and I waited, and they're like, thank you, so sorry, thank you, so sorry. The key to this thing, ladies and gentlemen, is when you get these properties, is to make the mortgage payments. Ask me how I know. Now, remember when I was doing this, I made mistakes. I had properties foreclosed on me because number one, I didn't make the mortgage payments, either willingly or by mistake. Okay. By mistake or even willingly. So I learned, oh my God, you can't do that. Now, here's the thing. If the lender does foreclose on a property that you have in a land trust and your trustee is on title and you're the beneficiary, when it forecloses, guess what happens? It never goes against your trustee's credit ever, or goes against the beneficiary's credit ever. It's recorded against the former homeowner's credit, and it's on their record when it forecloses after you take the property, because they have to foreclose based on who is on the loan, right? You got it? No? Maybe yes?
Got it.
Okay, good. So the other part of the transaction, having the seller sign their ownership of the land trust, does violate the due on sale clause, but that transaction is a private matter between you and the seller. Because remember, when you're dealing with these sellers, you're doing a private transaction between you and the other person. It's a private transaction. You're not calling the bank, say, hey, can I do this, that, and the other. Some investors make a mistake. They get the power of attorney, or they get the authorization. They call the lender and say, you know, I'm going to take over John's property or Mrs. Brown's property, and we're going to make the payments, and they're going to sign the deed over to me. You never tell them that. It's not their business. You're not going to do that, especially if you're going to do it in the trust. You're making a private transaction between you and the other person. The other person is going to give you the deed right? In return for you making the payments, taking care of insurance, maintenance, and repairs. That's what's going to happen. It's a private transaction. All right. Now, if the lender does find out about it, that's when you have your trust document ready. Send it to them. Boom. Now, with that said, anything could happen. In regular real estate, wholesalers have problems, flippers have problems, regular real estate transactions have problems. There's risk in every real estate transaction. Okay. But they do things to mitigate the risk. Okay. So here's the thing. I tell people, just in case, you may want to have a hard money lender, which could be an institutional hard money lender or a private hard money lender, right? So in case that does happen, you can say, hey, they're calling the loan due, which is going to take about 3 or 4 months to happen anyway. So you got time to either sell the property, you get it? You can sell the property if they call the loan due, and that's the end of that. Or you could refinance yourself because you're the beneficiary and you have a trustee in your property. You guys can refinance the whole thing and clear the whole thing. Or you get a hard money lender to go ahead and pay that off. You put them in the deal as part of the transaction and you give them some money for it. Okay. So have that. And that's what's always recommended as a hedge. I never had to do it. I never had any hard money lender, anybody had to come in to pay off a mortgage that the lender called due, because when the lender called it due, it was in a trust, boom, and the lender was just happy that the mortgage payments would be made. The only time they're going to call due is after you take those properties and you start making some payments, and then you yourself become deficient in the payments, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. Guess what? They're going to say, what's going on? And they're going to want to call that loan due. They're not going to care. Because now they don't even have to pull the due on sale clause as a reason. They're going to pull non-payment of mortgage payments as a foreclosure reason. You understand? So if you're making the payments,
Yeah.
if you're making the payments and it's in the trust, you generally don't have nothing to worry about. But if it's in the trust and you're not making the payments, then you will have something to learn about. Ask me how I know. Now I tell you guys, I'm very truthful. I've been doing this for 20 years. I made mistakes. I've been to court. I've been in front of the attorney general, depositions, subpoenas, all that, microphone, the whole thing, because I was like, oh my, in the beginning and even in the middle of my stuff, I didn't dot my I's, cross my T's and all that. But now I know. The bottom line is make those payments, make those payments, make those payments, make those payments. When you make the payments, you're going to be good. It's your property. You can sell it. You can lease it. You can rent it, you can move into it, and do whatever you want and give it away. Okay.
I have a question though.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
if I can wait till for later, but I just want to just touch on this a little bit.
Yes, go ahead.
Now, if you have this property in your name, I mean the land trust,
Mhm.
how do you get a loan on the property or get money out of the property itself since the mortgage is in the original seller's name?
Very good. So what happens is that, let's look at it this way. If the mortgage is in the original seller's name, they have a deed, they sign it, the deed over to your trustee, right? When anyone is going to buy a property and they go through a traditional closing, whatever, real estate agent, all that, a title company, they're going to look and they're going to see a mortgage on it. They're going to see John Doe has the mortgage, but the primary thing, they're going to see who is owner of the deed, because the deed owner is the person that can sell it. Okay. They can sell it. So you'll be able to sell it, refinance it, because you're on the deed. The deed gives you the legal ownership to refinance, sell, do whatever you want, even though the mortgage is in someone else's name. So let's make it a little bit clearer. John Doe is a seller and John Doe has a mortgage for $200,000 and John Doe is on a deed, but John Doe is behind in payments. I talked to John Doe, he puts it in a trust, he signs it over to my trustee. Now the mortgage is still in John Doe's name. My trustee now owns the property. When I want to sell that property, I can sell the property and whoever I sell it to has to pay off that existing mortgage. Okay. When they pay off the existing mortgage, any proceeds that are extra goes to the trustee or the beneficiary. So you can sell it without the consent of the original homeowner, strictly because they're not on the deed. They're not on the deed. Whoever's on the deed has the right to sell. Whoever's on the deed has the right to refinance. So another part of this, and I think maybe to answer your question, is after they put it in the trust, can the homeowner get a loan? Another loan on the property, right? No, they cannot. To get a loan, you have to be on the deed. To refinance, you have to be on the deed. So you or your trustee are going to be the only people who can refinance that property. Hopefully I answered your question correctly. No?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So that's what it is. So a lot of people are concerned, well, if I sign it over, can the homeowner get a second loan without my knowledge? No, they cannot, because they're not on the deed. To get a loan, the new mortgage company or the new lender is going to say, oh, who's on the deed? Because that's the person that's going to have to sign for the new loan. That's the person that's going to have to sign for the reamortization or whatever that has to be done. to
So
pay off.
basically, he who owns the deed controls, who's on the deed controls the property then, basically.
That's correct. And they
Okay,
only control the property based on what the beneficiary allows them to do.
okay,
Just like if you had a regular home and it wasn't subject to and you bought it, you're on that deed, you can sell that property to anybody you want because you're on the deed. The deed owner has power. So the trustee has power too. However, their power is limited to what you say they can do. You direct them to sell. You direct them to rent. You direct them to give you the proceeds, okay? It's a very, very powerful tool. Very, very powerful tool to use. And it's used a lot by the wealthy and people who are in the know. They put their properties in trust. That's why you hear all these guys like Trump and all these other politicians and people who have money. I own this idea. They say with their mouth they own it, right? But if you look, you're not going to see their name on no deed ever. They can say they own everything in the world, but you're not going to see their name on the deed. See, they have it in a trust. So if you sue them, you're not going to get their property. How many times has Trump been sued?
many a times.
That's right, but they didn't take his property. How many times he filed for bankruptcy? I heard 3, 4, 5, 7, 8
Many a
times.
times.
There you go. Now, if his name was on that property, boom, that stuff is gone.
Wow, I didn't put two and two together about bankruptcy. I didn't even think
Yes,
about
and I'm
that.
just using Trump, but it could be a lesser person, someone who just has
Yeah,
money, someone who's just that's how they do it. See,
Right.
this is knowledge that we need to have to educate ourselves. Now, it's not the all end all, but it's a piece of the puzzle that helps us.
It's a
Okay?
nice piece. It's
It
a nice
is.
piece of the puzzle.
Right.
And it's really a
An
nice
important
piece.
piece.
Yes, ma'am. And so I say, do this, do a little homework, right? So call up an attorney, a real estate attorney, say, hey, just talk to him. Like, you're not going to really do anything. Say, hey, I want to put my property in the trust or create a trust. And then you'll be amazed at the amount of money he's going to charge you to do that. And here I'm giving it to you like this. So you're going to have knowledge to do this for yourself and to help your friends and family, and also to help your real estate business. When, look, I had one attorney because I had to take a student of mine early in the game to court because he wouldn't pay me in a deal. And he took me to court and I said, man, you just let's work it out. He wanted to go to court. So I went to the whole 9 yards. And this is my first time going to court, and I hired a real estate attorney, the best one in Arizona. I spent a lot of money. It wasted my money though. Anyway, I went there. And he saw the deal, and I brought my paperwork, and he's like, what? He closed the door and asked his secretary, could you leave the room for a second? I said, Mr. Brown, he said, you know how to do trust? I said, yes, sir. He said, my God, do you know what we charge people to do a trust? He said, you dotted your I's. You see what I'm saying? This is knowledge that most people don't have. Now, they always say when it comes to legal things like this, you generally, and it's always recommended that you have an attorney or a lawyer do this for you. It's always recommended to make sure you do it correct. And I still recommend it. However, I recommend that you learn how to do this, because I'm telling you, when the crunch comes and the real estate debacle comes, and you can still take every property you get subject to and go to a closing attorney and go to a title company and close. You can do that. And it's recommended you do it the regular way. You close. The only thing, you're going to pay attorney's fees. You're going to pay the title company closing costs. You're going to pay this. You're going to pay closing fees that you do when you buy a house or sell a house traditionally. You're going to pay that, right? Now, what I learned, and others like me who do this on a regular basis, is that when we go to these sellers and we have a seller who we think is done deal, they're back against the wall, they want to do it, and they give me indication, not only do I bring my contract, I bring my trust agreement. And I tell you, plenty of times I'm at the kitchen table and I have my contract, they're signing, and my trust agreement, and I have a roving notary, and we signed, done deal, and I just closed right there and then. And the only thing I got to do is go to the county recorder's office and record my deed, and boom, it's done. I didn't have to go to a title company or closing attorney. It happened. Now, of course, I've done my due diligence, looked up the property, make sure there was no liens on it. Now, I teach you how to do that too. Check your due diligence, talk to the lender, make sure there's no balloon payment, make sure there's no hidden stuff, make sure they're not foreclosed, all these things you got to do. But the bottom line is you're going to learn how to do this if you need to do this at the touch of a button, and you will. Because remember, when crunch time comes, and it's not crunch time yet, and the only reason I can say this, I say this not by theory, I say this by experience. When the housing crash comes and a lot of foreclosures are out there and a lot of people are walking away from their properties and foreclosing and just dipping and whatnot, you're going to have a lot of investors who may be talking to the same homeowner you're talking to, and you may want to close to get the deal. Okay, so you might have to close right there and then. So you're going to have the option, you don't have to close right there if you want to, if you feel comfortable and it's a done deal. But if you want to go ahead and close with a title company, by all means do that. I have a lot of friends who do subject to, who are, you know, my contemporaries, and they go use title companies. They do it that way. They pay that money, and you can. And when you get a lot of money in this business, you get properties, you may just want to go ahead and do that just to make sure everything's signed, sealed, and delivered. You can do that. But what I'm teaching you is the benefit of the knowledge of knowing how to do it yourself. That way you can make sure your title company and your attorney who's closing is not robbing you. Okay. And when you see the money they're going to charge you, you say, oh my God, I could have saved $5,000 in closing costs by doing it yourself. And you can. So you're a beginner. You don't have that money to close unless you do. Maybe you do, and you can still do that. But at least you should have the knowledge of how to do this, is what I'm telling you. It's knowledge. How to, that's what that attorney told me. He said, oh my God, he said, you don't need me to close. I said, no, I just need you to represent me because I know how to close. He said, yeah, you close it. You got the deed. You own this thing. I said, yeah. You put in the trust, you're the beneficiary, you got the trustee. He said, oh my God, they charge a lot of money, $1,000 and up, sometimes $2,000, $3,000 do a trust. Simple. So it's good knowledge. Okay, good knowledge to have. Any particular questions here? Let's see what else we can go through. Oh, 8:23. Ooh, I went over my time, but I didn't mean to do that. We started late, but I still want to go through something here. And let me see if I can find it. So for those who are naysayers, which are real estate agents, a lot of them will tell you, you can't do this, you can't do that. No. I have a daughter who's a real estate agent here in Arizona. I have a son who's a real estate agent broker in New York City. They sent me their manuals. You know, they got the real estate license because they know what I do. And they're like, Dad, you're absolutely right. And so these excerpts are part from the manuals that they did back in the day. And the manuals talk about subject to, but they don't teach realtors how to do subject to, but they let realtors know subject to can be a part of a transaction. And that's what, when I sent you this, the quote from Modern Real Estate Practice, right? You guys got that in your things I sent you, part of the documents? You should have it. So go over it. It'll tell you. These are excerpts from those manuals. When a property is sold subject to, this, that, and the other, this, that, and the other. So these realtors know it can be done, but they're not taught how to do it because that's not how they operate. They operate on commission and selling a property that they don't own. The reason why a realtor needs a license is because they're either representing a buyer for property they don't own, and they're representing a seller. So you need a license to do that because it's not your property. You're representing them, you're getting commission. Okay, so that's what this was for, to give you that information. Okay, and still do your due diligence and check it out. Now, also, what you may or may not know, if any of you own a home now, anybody own a home here? Got a mortgage?
No, I don't.
No,
I'm gonna get,
either.
I need a sub two
Me
immediately.
too.
Yeah,
Me
I-
too.
I know guys who are living in them now, investors. I did it back in the day. I lived everywhere in Arizona. I lived in places where we weren't allowed to live, quote unquote. You know what I'm talking about? But
Oh, I
got
already
in
know what you're talking
because I
about.
did it subject to, right?
I know
So
exactly.
if you know anybody who owns a house and you're friendly with them, this, that, and you say, you know, can I see your closing documents and send a little package the title company gets you, and look for the settlement statement. Every sale has it. Look for the settlement statement. It's going to look like this. Most of it's going to be filled out. Name of address, this, that, and the other, boo, boo, boo. Every settlement statement on the left-hand side, line 203 says existing loans taken subject to, and 503, see, it's there. It's there in case that's part of the deal, but realtors don't do this. Homeowners don't, see what I'm saying? So it's already
On
in
the HUD
law.
paper? Is that on that HUD paper?
Yes,
That
ma'am.
HUD.
Yeah, pull up the HUD one. It's
That
there.
that is there.
Pull up
It
any,
sure is.
see, this is what I'm trying to tell you. See, it's hidden. They don't want you to know. See, look, I'm gonna tell you another thing. They and they almost did it. They tried to stop me from teaching subject to here in Phoenix. Really, I went to court, attorney general. They found other things to try to stop me to put that on, but I'm still rolling, as you can see. They came to me personally, some people, some other investors, white investors came to me, say, hey, what are you doing? We don't want you to why are you teaching this the general so they know how to do. They wanted to keep it amongst themselves. Okay. And they didn't really want me to do it because I taught it different. I have my own style. As a matter of fact, I'll share with you the next time the person who taught me. This was 20 years ago. And he wanted me to go to Atlanta, where he lived, and was teaching subject too big. And he rented a big space, 500. He wanted me to go there to teach people because he couldn't believe what I was doing. He even said, Eric has his own style of subject too. And he really wanted me to tell people how to do this. And I'm telling you, this is knowledge that you need to have. Now, with that said, I'm going to say this. It's not the end all in real estate investing. There's flipping, there's wholesaling. But if you have this underneath your belt, a lot of wholesalers let properties go because it doesn't fit the profile, right? There's no room in there, right? You can take it subject to and make some money. So now a lot of properties that you typically would let go as a wholesaler, as a flipper, you can take it subject to and still make money on it. So that means most of the deals you're not going to let go anymore unless the seller is not motivated. Still has to be a motivated seller. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So back to my existing point here, it's in the HUD, which means it's legal, which means it exists, which means it can happen. But who does it? Those who are knowledgeable. And I'm giving you this knowledge to exercise should it be part of your deal or able to do it. You got it? It's there. So anybody tell you, oh, you can't take subject to, it's illegal, it's illegal. If it's illegal, why is it already put in there as an option in case that happens? So what this means is that a person can buy a property and put a little down payment, right? And close and take the property subject to the mortgage. They can legally do that in a regular closing. You know, we're going to take it subject to, we're going to go to the title company, we're going to do this. I'm going to give you just $5,000 down. We'll take the rest. That's what that's there for. For subject to, it exists, but who does it? You got it?
Got it.
We
I have
do
I
it.
got it. I got
We
it.
do it. We do it. And I'm teaching you how to do it. Now, I want to say another thing. It's not, some guys who learn subject to, they go out and do the wrong thing. It's not for the regular sellers. Regular sellers who just want to sell. See, there's people who want to sell their property, right? And there's people who have to sell. The want to sellers, you tell them subject to, they're going to be looking at you like you lost your mind. I'm not giving you the keys to my property, give you the deed. You're just going to walk away. You got get nothing. They're not going to do that. They're not motivated. They know they got equity. They can sit back and wait for the sale, get the price they want, and it's good. So don't make a mistake and waste your time talking to people who are not motivated. Now, with that said, you can say, damn, there's not a lot of motivated sellers. Yes, there is. There's motivated sellers now. Divorces, people who found a good job during this COVID, post-COVID, and got to move to another state, can't sell right away, can't wait because they're going to lose the job. Boom. They can't wait. You know what I'm saying? Or they move to another property and they're paying rent and paying the mortgage and the property's not selling fast enough, double. That's how I got my first property. The guy, he was in a place called Casa Grande, Arizona. He put the property up for sale and he had equity in there, but he was paying $1,000 a month for 7 months. And he saw my website and he called me, he said, oh my God, me and my girlfriend, we're going to get married. And I moved down to Phoenix, Arizona, where you're at. And we're paying rent, but I'm paying $1,000 here and $800 here. And I just can't make, and the property's not selling. He said, man, can you just take it off my hands? I said, sure. So he signed a deed over. I mean, I bought the contract and the trust agreements right there and did everything. And 30 minutes later, I went to the Pinal County Recorder's office, recorded the deed. I owned the property. I came back. Me and my partner was cleaning up, boo, 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 and here comes the realtor. Because the sign was still there that he was, he hired a realtor to sell the property. The sign was still there. He didn't take it off yet. We didn't take it off. We got the property. He was just so happy. He gave us the keys. And she came, the realtor, was a female, came with a buyer. And she said, oh my God, how you guys doing? I want to say, who's the owner? I said, I'm the owner. No, it says such and such. Well, we bought, no, you can't do that because I said, no. She said, well, we have a contract. And when you do hire a realtor, you have a contract, right? For the realtor to do the job. But what I did, as soon as he signed the documents in closing, I told him, fax it today to the realtor, boom, that you want this, you want to negate the deal, whatever. He faxed it over, signed it and all that. She didn't get the memo because she was in the field, right? So what happened, she called the broker and said, yeah, John Doe signed over the thing and released you from this contract. So you don't have a contract on that property. Now the seller brought a buyer, right? The buyer was walking through she loved it. Oh my God, what's the price? And I'm like, it's going to cost you such and such. She said, it's a little bit high. I said, what if you want it, we'll sell it. And then the realtor was mad. She said, oh my God, you can't do it. I said, we can do what we want because we own the property. See, that was part of the deal. When we went to the title company, they wanted to negate the deal. That was part of that stuff. So bottom line is, when you get these properties, you're going to be able to do whatever you want. But if you ever run across a homeowner or a seller who has a contract with a realtor, make sure that you have them sign a release of that contract, or legally you can't do it. That's the first thing I do. You with a realtor still? Yeah, but it didn't sell. Well, if you want me to take this over, you got to kill that deal. And they'll sign over, fax over, and they releases you, and you can do whatever you want. Bottom line is, it's in every HUD documente. All right. Now, the rest of the stuff I gave is for you to read and whatnot and go over. And of course, to ask you questions. What I wanted to do, I don't know why this thing is not pulling up, but I promise I'll have you next time. I wanted to briefly go over some of the documents. Maybe I can still do that we're going to go through. Yeah, let me do that for you guys. You guys are all right. It's the rest of the world I worry about. So am I still sharing?
Yep.
Okay, so it says standard real estate purchase sale agreement. This is the subject to contract. Some guys doing subject to will tell you there's no such thing as subject to contract. You take a regular contract and you put your little clauses in there. Yeah, that's fine. But there is one that exists. This is one, and there's a couple of them. So this one is made for subject to. You guys are going to learn how to do this. Now, I'm not just going to give it to you and say, this is what you do. I'm going to go line by line with you, show you how you can use seller financing if that's part of your deal, cash payable seller at closing if that's part of your deal. But I'll show you some of mine where it says earnest money, says 0 here. Only what the seller owes, 0 for seller financing, 0 for closing, boom. Okay. And we're going to go to this and, let me show you something else. Since we're here. See, I'm not a person that talks, don't walk the walk. Oh, I hope you can see this. Can you see this? This is a check from my last deal that the seller gave to me to take the property. To take their property subject to. So you can get sellers to pay you because some of them will. Not all of them. Of course, those who ain't making a mortgage payment, most likely not going to pay you. This person was current, but they just want it out. They just want it out. So I'm going to teach you how to do this contract correctly. This contract also has an assignment clause, so you can assign your deal to an investor. So you're going to be able to take this contract and do wholesaling immediately. So a lot of wholesale, I don't want to do subject to, I just want to do wholesale. Guess what? You can do that. You don't even have to close and get the deed or put it in a trust. You can get this deal on a contract and assign it to an investor. Yes, you can. I've done it. I know investors who I do subject to. As soon as you get one, please call me first. Sign to them, they do it, they put in a trust, they move on. Now, of course, I only sell it for a certain amount of dollars because it's just like wholesaling, 5,000, whatever it's, whatever it's worth, 8,000, 10, whatever the case may be. Now, if I get it and put it into a trust, then it's more valuable to the investor and valuable to me too, because not only do I have a contract, I got the deed. Now I'm gonna sell you a piece of property that I own and you're gonna own it. You're gonna have the deed, so I can charge more money, right? Now, if I go a little further, get the contract, get the deed, and put a tenant buyer in there who's paying, then I can assign it to the seller, to the investor now for more money, because now he has a property that's income producing. So that 5,000 can turn into 10,000, can turn into 20,000, can turn into 30. You got it? So you're gonna learn how to do this. You can assign these. Every document I give you is assignable. The trust is assignable. The contract is assignable. And also the lease agreements are assignable. So you're going to learn how to make some money if you want, and you're going to have the option to creatively work the deal how you want it. Same thing with the contract. Okay. Same thing with the contract. You're going to learn some real good stuff. And I'm happy. You can see I'm really seeing, I'm excited. It's not like when I first started. When I talk about subject to, I get amped. I love this thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Okay. So you're going to learn that. And also, I'm going to teach you guys. Oh, here's the beauty. Power of attorney. A lot of investors, wholesalers, flippers, they just get what they call authorization. BS. They'll never do an authorization. Get power of attorney, because most of these sellers are gonna go poof after you sign and you take over the property. You may never see them again. What if you got a problem with the mortgage? What if you're late? You know, you're gonna be late on the mortgage. It can happen. What if you miss a payment? You can still talk to the lender, right? With this power of attorney for the homeowner, even though they're no longer there, and you can make the deal. I've had let me see. Oh, the forbearance. I had a homeowner, you know, the lender called me and said, hey, we're offering a forbearance. I said, really? I said, yeah. So I said, well, you know, the homeowner's kind of sick. That's the other thing. I said, yeah, we've been trying to reach them. I said, well, and you know, they said, well, Mr. Brown, you got power of attorney. You know, you can sign. I said, thank you very much. I signed it, did a forbearance. See, now I don't like to sign, but in this case, I did the forbearance. It's the done deal. So you can make these things. So I'm going to teach you how to use this correctly. Your attorney, in fact, full authority to speak, act, endorse regarding all matters, everything, escrow, forbearance, reinstatement, foreclosure, insurance, all that. I'll teach you how to, this is the name of my company, I'll teach you how to do the whole thing. You're going to learn some good stuff here, people. Some good stuff.
Okay, so when you signed, Mr. Brown, did you sign in your name or your business name?
I signed in the homeowner's name because the lender told me to do that. I said, because I was
Oh,
like,
okay, the power.
because I don't
attorney.
like to do that personally. I
Got you.
don't.
Got
So
you.
I said, well, you know, I don't, they said, no, Mr. Brown, you have power of attorney, you can sign for them. I said, they told me, just put the initials there, boom, 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 boom. You have your
Okay.
power of attorney giving you authority to sign in their place. Thank you very much. And they took it. It's in forbearance now.
Wow.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so
Power.
have you ever had to take over payments and then they were late and then you did maybe like put them on the back end and called the lender and said, can I put these payments on the back end?
Yes, ma'am. Matter of fact, what I teach you to do, because when I did the first subject twos, when I first started, real estate crash happened, this, that, and the other. Then things started going back up, and then I didn't get a lot of subject twos. So I went into the business. You know, after that, I got a lot of them. But then when things started getting better, prices went up like now. It's crazy. Nobody's signing over properties. They have equity, they're selling. But a lot of people were still in foreclosure and they needed loan modification. So I had a loan modification company. I know how to do modification. So I teach you another thing, how to speak to the lender.
So you'll teach us a little bit of loan
Oh,
modifications
yes, ma'am.
too?
So yeah,
Oh,
I will
that is
teach you that if you want to.
excellent.
Awesome.
That's what I
Yes.
tell you. This is
Oh,
valuable. You're not just getting these other guys. They give you the fluff and they don't want to tell you. Maybe they, you know,
that
they'll
is
sell you the
excellent.
course, and then later on, here's another 1,000 for the. I don't do that. What I teach you, you get it all. One price, one boom, this, that, and the other. Because I want a network of you guys out here so we can help each other and trade with each other, make some money, and become friends. And give
Yes,
Yes,
you.
like
please.
seriously,
Yes,
seriously.
please. I'm here for it.
Mhm. That's what I want to do. So let me tell you this, and it's 8:30. I'm over my time, but it's okay. So what
Okay.
I'm going to teach you how to do, of course, when you take over the property subject to and they're behind, there's 3 ways that you make up those back payments. The number 1 way I tell you to do is talk to that lender. Remember, I found out a lot of these homeowners stick their head in the sand when they get these foreclosure documents and they never even call the lender. They're scared. And when they do, they don't know what the lender's like, oh, you got to pay it. We're going to foreclose. Never call them again. Letter after letter after letter after letter after they put their head in the sand. They don't know what to say. When they do, they get, you know, all crazy. They don't even know how to speak to the lender. The lender intimidates them. Who goes into foreclosure every year or every 2 or 3 years? Most people once in their lifetime, right? Or maybe twice.
Yeah.
So they don't
True.
know typically how to approach a lender, what to say, what their rights are. So what I do is the first thing I do when I sign a contract and I think I got a deal, I get this power of attorney, I use it for a number of reasons. Number 1 reason, I can speak to that lender without even having the homeowner on the phone or ever even speaking to me. Of course, I'm gonna get the story from the homeowner, but you got to remember, homeowners either are not going to be truthful with everything for you, or they don't know. Some people didn't know they were in foreclosure. And then I find out when I talk to the homeowner, the lender. So you're going to speak to the lender and you're going to ask the lender the option. Say, look, is there any options, this, that, and the other? They're going to say, yeah, you know, we can do a loan modification or we can do a forbearance. And then what you're going to do, because remember, you just signed a contract, you didn't close. You're doing your due diligence to see if this is a deal for you, the investor. So that's why you're talking to the lender. So the number 1 thing to do is see if the lender is down for taking those payments and reamortizing them and put them in back of the loan. Number 1 thing, that's what I do first. If they're down to do that, it's a done deal. You get that paperwork going, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. And I talked to my homeowner, I said, yeah, I'm working this thing out with the lender. Don't worry about it. When we're going to close? and we about to close this, that, and the other, and then here's the loan modification document, sign this, I'm making over, that's it, done deal, modification done. Now, you're gonna talk to lenders who are gonna tell you, well, this homeowner had a modification already and they screwed up. They didn't make the payments because, you know, they do trial modifications, see if you're gonna do it. A lot of people mess up. I've had lenders who gave a second chance, trial modification, this, that, and the other. And there's two types. There's a federal modification and there's an in-house modification that the lender has. Ask about both of them. So I teach you how to ask for both of those and to speak to the lender with authority. Now, I'm going to tell you, when you call these lenders and you send over this document, appointment of property manager, limited power of attorney, the number one people you're going to call with the 800 number is not going to be the person who's handling the case. It's going to be the, and I use this term loosely and not negatively, the peons, the 1-800 guys who working at home or sisters working at home. Yes, can I help you to pull up the loan, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. And I say, yes, calling on behalf of my client. That's what I say, because they are my client. I didn't say I was an attorney, right? Didn't hear that. I didn't say I was a lawyer. I don't say that. And they say, well, what's your name? Pull up in, what's your company? When they pull it up, it's going to say appointment of property manager with limited power of attorney. They assume automatically that they're speaking to an attorney. I never said I was. That's their assumption. And because they assume that, they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt and speak to you differently now. Oh, yes, sir. This, they can speak, because they got to be careful how they speak to attorneys and lawyers. You see what I'm saying? I didn't say I was. If they ever ask me, I'm going to say, no, I'm not, but they never do. They do assumptions and think that you are. So you're going to be able to have a lot of latitude using this as opposed to a regular authorization. If you guys been in real estate investing before, like a flipper or a wholesaler, you send over authorization to find out what the loan is, how much interest, all that kind of stuff. That's all that is. But power of attorney gives you big power. Got it? So you use this to your advantage to get information and have the lender tell you anything they want. And remember, we're going to go through this as part of the class. Okay. It's going to allow you, you are hereby instructed to follow all directions from my attorney, in fact, but that's what you're calling. Now you can get power of, it's legal. It's not illegal. You don't have to be an attorney to do this. You can get power of attorney of your mother. You get power of attorney of your father. You can get power of attorney of your siblings. You know, you can do that. Anybody can do that, right?
Yes.
Anybody. So that's what you're doing. This is a personal transaction between you and the seller, and he's giving you power of attorney to talk on his stead. Go ahead and make negotiations. Okay. So you're instructed to follow directions from my attorney, in fact, in the same manner in which you follow directly me. The attorney, in fact, shall be specifically authorized to speak, act, endorse in our name in places that with regards to all debt secured under property, including but not limited to escrow, reinstatement, payoff, foreclosure, forbearance, insurance. That means if I tell the lender, look, the homeowner is not available, they got to talk to me. They do, and they always do. So I'm gonna teach you how to use that to your advantage. That's one reason to use this. Then there's other reasons too, when we get into the class, how you're gonna see it benefits you, not dealing with the lender, but dealing with other parties, okay? So I think I'm gonna end here. I wanted to go through the trust document to show you what it looks like, but we'll do it another time because I don't wanna take a lot of your time. But you guys understand the value that I'm giving you. And what I'm giving you is not fluff, it's not bluff, it's the real stuff. It's knowledge. It's real knowledge. You're gonna learn how to use this correctly. And I want you to do it. I'm excited. I want you to guys be successful. I want you to tell everybody your success. Don't tell me you own
Thank
property.
you.
Don't tell me you own properties though. Don't do that. Because you got haters. Let me tell you.
Oh, I know. I got haters and I don't have any.
And let me tell you who your haters are. Your haters are never strangers. Never.
Right,
People
never.
closer to you.
Always friends and family.
You're exactly
If they ain't
right.
haters now, they're gonna be haters later. So, you know, tell me I do a little real estate invest. Don't never tell them the properties that you own. Never do that. Because I'm telling you, they can turn on you and it happens. It's so unfortunate. I had my ex, I ain't supposed to tell you this, take me to court because I was a real estate investor, right? And there was some child support issues, which I was paying, but they wanted more money, this, that, and the other. And hold on one second. Why did it stop ringing? Okay, I'm almost done. So come by right now. Okay. So what happened is that the, not the attorney general, but the prosecutor came up to me and she said, Mr. Brown, you are really good. I said, what are you talking about, man? She said, we know you're a real estate investor and you own all these properties, but we can't find nothing in your name. I said, man, what are you talking about? I don't own any properties. I just work for this company. They give me payroll, I get paid. That was my line. And since they're prosecutors, they look, they have access to the public records. They didn't find nothing in my name that they can take and attach and sell. You get it? Now
Mhm.
that was someone who told me I would
That's
never do that to
awesome.
you. I would never do that to you, but they did it after they find out I had the ability. You see what I'm saying?
That's usually the ones. Yeah, that's
Yep.
awesome though.
That's just a personal part of me I shouldn't have said, but it drives
No, it's
home the
fine.
point. It drives
Right.
home the
Definitely
point.
fine.
Right, drives home the point. So, with that said, and I'm so happy you guys taking this. I'm happy, I've given this course, I'm gonna tell you, to some of my family and a few friends for free. But I found out when you give stuff to people for free, they don't have no value to it.
True.
No.
They take an ad, whatever they put in. I'm like, you guys don't understand what you're gonna do. Then you're gonna come crying to me when the crash comes, wish you had a property, right?
Yep.
So I tell them, so I found out people who pay, they ascribe value to it. And it's really
Yep.
valuable. And then some people they don't get it. They think it's some get rich quick scheme. It's not, because it takes time to make money. But if you do it right, you're going to acquire some real estate and some wealth and some assets. You're really going to do that. And I showed you guys the list, right? Of the properties going to have people. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. I'm waiting for the second round. I believe, this is my belief. I don't know everything, but I believe this time it's going to be monumental. It's going to be more than it ever was last time. It may happen whoop, or it may be a trickle until it builds up a crescendo, but it's going to happen. And you guys are going to have your pick and choose of the properties. And you're going to find something that you are going to want to move into.
What do you think the timeline might be based on the economy right now?
I don't know, but one thing I do know, since I was part of the last 2 or 3, one thing I always heard was realtors tell me, oh, it's going to be great. It's never going to crash. This, that. I hear the same thing now. And I'm like, huh?
Mhm.
But then who I watch is the banks and the lenders. And now the banks are tightening up credit. They're stopping people from taking out second mortgages, home lines of credit. They're pulling back because they know, and they were around the last time, and they see the handwriting on. So when you see them doing it, you're like, oh, they're getting ready for something, because they have this knowledge ahead of time in the industry. They can track it about what's going to happen. We don't know when. It could be this year, could be the end of this year, could be next year. We don't know. But I know when it happens, it's going to happen. And plus, they'll tell you right now, oh, well, the conditions that existed the last crash and the one before it is not now. They sure didn't. But guess what? The last crash and the distant before, they weren't the same either, but it happened. But one thing that was happening is that property values went through the roof abnormally, and they're abnormal right now.
Yes, they
Some
are.
banks are nervous. They're like,
They're
I know
sky high.
people are buying these properties for $400,000, and the bank is happy they can get this loan, but they's like, damn, if this person defaults or if it crashes, it's only going to be really worth $200,000. I'm not lending that, and I'm stuck. And the person walks away, and we're going to have a non. They know this, so they're trying to reduce that now because they're getting a little nervous. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know, have a crystal ball. I don't know
Right.
when. I'm saying get prepared, get prepared, get prepared, get prepared, because it's gonna happen. And they'll tell you real estate is cyclical every 10 years, right? And I think we're in our 12th. It's woo. Shit,
Yeah,
this
it was
thing is-
2008, the last crash.
Oh, I was there for that, for the 2008 all the way to 2016. I made good money. It was
I was oblivious. I should have purchased then.
Really?
I had the opportunity and I didn't. It was my first time shopping for properties, and
Mhm.
my husband at the time and he got scared and I followed him. But I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm divorced, so I'm gonna go ahead and follow my dream. So I'm here. I shouldn't have listened then, and I don't have to listen now.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I'm gonna tell you, I don't know it all, but one thing I did, I still made mistakes the last go round. I'll tell you, if I had any goddamn sense in my head, I would have properties right now. It'd be done deal. But I got rid of flip stuff, not knowing, thinking is no, you don't do that now. Don't do that. You can flip and sell and get rid of some of your properties and sell them. Do that, but keep some for yourself.
Right.
Keep some
Right.
for yourself, because another ditch that's opening, a lot of people are getting evicted. And you're gonna have friends and family who need a place to live, and you may be the only hope they got. And you may
True.
be able to put them in a place for a nice price, so you may be covered a cost, whatever the case may be, but you're gonna be a hero to a lot of people.
Right.
You're gonna be able to help people who you want to help. And then yourself, your landlord might trip and raise the rent $700 on top of what you're paying now, and they're doing that now. And you
Yes,
might
they
get a
are.
mortgage that's just cheaper than that, and here goes my property, and you got the deed. And here's the beauty: if you do happen to get in a financial debacle, right? Debacle, whatever you call it. And
Right.
you lose your job or your income drops and you're renting, your landlord can get you out in 30 days. Boom.
Sure
Forget it,
can.
right? If you have a deed to the property foreclosure, you can stretch, look, you can stretch that up to a year. First of all, they got to give you 90 days notice. Then they got to give you 90 days out for the sale date. Then you can extend that by making a deal with them, forbearance, payments. You see what I'm saying? It's not like the eviction thing. You dealing with a lender where you can make deals. And you might be able to make up the payments. Your landlord might not let you make up the payments. He says, let me get you out of here, put somebody else in here, but your lender will. It's better to have in a position where you have a property that you're in control of, that you can make payment arrangements with your lender than dealing with a landlord. Be the landlord, be the owner. That's what I say.
Yep.
That's totally, totally true.
Yes,
If I told you what I was paying, you would tell me that I need a sub too.
if
I told you.
you don't have to tell me. We all need sub-twos. I do now too.
Definitely
I
need
make
a sub
mistakes.
too.
And people look at me, they're like, Eric, I'm in a rental now. People say, what the hell is wrong with you? So
I bet you I'm paying more than you.
you might be, but I have a
You in
sub-two out there,
Cali,
but
you
it's not where I
probably
want to
are.
be. But listen, let me tell you. And then I'm going to teach you guys. Let me see, Kalia, what city are you in? State?
Cincinnati, Ohio.
Natty and Carmen, where are you at?
I'm in Los Angeles, California.
So you got the county recorder's office in each place. Now I'm going to teach you how to go there and get practice and pull up
Okay.
these pre-foreclosures. You can get them for free. You know how to give you these lists on PropStream and all that kind of stuff, whatever.
Mhm.
Well, you're going to get
Yeah.
the same shiznit right here. The same stuff is right there at public record. It's just people don't know how to pull them.
Right.
Yeah, I
I'll
don't.
show you how
I
to do
don't.
that in practice. Now, every county recorder is a little different. Okay, it's a little different, but I'm going to show you how to do it. And then you're going to get the names. Now, they won't give you telephone numbers, won't give you email addresses. What you're going to get is the name. You're going to get the date that they're going to foreclose on, which is going to be usually, I teach you how to find ones that are 90 days to 120 days out to give you more time to make a deal with the lender and the homeowner. See what I'm saying?
Mhm.
All right, so you're going to get that. And shoot, that's practice. Then send them a letter, do your marketing, woo, woo, to the point where they call you because they saw your marketing to the point they understand what you do. You don't have to get on the phone and try to sell yourself. If they don't respond to your marketing, they're not motivated, because some people who are in foreclosure are really not motivated. You know why? Because they're going to make up the back payments. They got something going on. So not everybody's in foreclosure is motivated. So you got to be able to talk to the seller to see what their level of motivation is, who you got somebody on the line. If you got them, you keep moving forward. If not, let them go. Don't worry about it. But you get practice talking to people. You get practice to, okay, whoa, whoa, whoa. See, that's what you do. Use that for, okay?
Okay.
Now, we're up to date to the modern times. Everybody goes online. Every seller, when they, let me see what I can find is help. They're going to go on their phone, their iPad. They're going to go on their laptop, their desktop, and they're going to seek help. That's where you need to be primarily, not only, but primarily. But you need to have your marketing message in such a way that it hits people in different levels. And that's what we're going to go into when we talk about the marketing next time. Okay. And how to find motivated sellers and speak to them. I hope you
Okay.
enjoyed this.
Oh, yes,
I
great.
did.
Awesome.
Yes, everything.
All right. And
Very
it was a little bit of like the
informative.
Q&A a little bit, but I still have to go over this premise because I really want to get this kind of theory in your head. So when we get to the documents, it just makes more sense. And remember, ask questions. There's no dumb questions. Don't think you're stupid. Even if you ask it twice, you're not dumb. You're not stupid. Hey, it's the first time when I did it, I asked questions so many times. The guy said, Eric, I understand. Keep asking until you know it. And I turned out to be his best student. He wanted to pay for my airfare and my hotel fee everywhere to speak in front of 500 people.
Wow.
Because he's put it out there on in the letters. This guy has a special way of doing, subject to his own special way. And he taught me, but I took his stuff and brought it to another level. And he was like, God damn, that's really good. Let's make it happen.
Wow.
So I'm doing the same thing for you. And you can take it and create it and make it how you want to do it too. But at least you'll get the premise of it. Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Yes.
Whew, I'm
The
tired.
right way. The right way.
My ride is
This is
coming.
great. Okay, we'll get you right.
Yeah, my car's in the shop. So, I hate that lying to other people. But anyway, that's how it goes. Don't worry about it. I love you guys. And thank you for taking your time. I know you're in a different time zone. And this will be recorded, and it is being recorded. So you'll have the benefit of seeing it tomorrow. And I'll give you the password to the website so you can just click on the website. Now, the website right now has 12 sessions from the previous one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete those 12 sessions, and we're just going to have session 1, this, that, and you'll be able to see the benefit of the sessions that you're going through. Okay.
Okay.
And remember, you can pop into the new ones next month anytime you want and make it happen. All right.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you so
Cool.
much, Mr. Brown.
Thank
You're quite
you.
welcome. You
All right.
guys have a blessed day and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Bye, Kalia. Have a good weekend.
All right, you too.